Antifa, short for anti-fascism, is a violent left-wing street campaign that has run wild over the last several years. Recently, it launched a new cell in Philadelphia, this one targeting law enforcement. This new armed group, which calls itself the Revolutionary Abolitionist Movement, hosts anti-police workshops and outwardly promotes violence against law enforcement personnel. And in case you forgot just how violent Antifa can be, check out this montage we put together.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
And despite Antifa's violent history, the mainstream media has been surprisingly lenient in its coverage of the group. Joining me now, Director of the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism, Brian Levin, and former Secret Service agent and NYPD cop, Dan Bongino. So, Brian, let me start with you. From my perspective, I've watched this group develop over the last several years. They started to kind of spring out of the Occupy Wall Street anarchist movement. Now you see them a lot of the times with these black outfits and the bandanas around, and they got clubs and things like that. What do they want, and why have they grown so much recently?
Sure, and let me say I'm former NYPD as well. A couple of reasons. We have seen more white nationalist mega rallies in the last 2 years than the previous 10 to 20. I'm talking about where you have over 100 of these folks. These individuals, and they really vary chapter to chapter, but what they believe is that free speech protected by the First Amendment is an oppressive lever of systemic mistreatment of economically disadvantaged and racial and religious minorities.
I have no idea what you just said, by the way, and I don't think the audience does either. Break it down for us in ways we can understand. What do these violent Antifa people want, and why have they grown in popularity?
Okay. Two things. Number one, we've seen more of these Nazis rally in big groups over the last couple of years. This energizes them than we've seen in the previous 10 to 20, last 2 years. Moreover, they believe that free speech and what they call hate speech is violence, and that they can use violence themselves. But their adherence to violence really varies chapter to chapter and person to person. But at its core, their philosophy is one that's anti-establishment. They don't believe in the institutions and processes of our democracy, and they believe violence initially is self-defense, but also aggressively is appropriate.
Yeah.
But they don't buy into our system of government or our First Amendment.
No, they definitely don't. Now, Dan, it's clear just watching the video, Antifa can't fight. I've never seen a group of people that can't throw a punch like that.
What a bunch of wusses. Yeah, they can't throw a punch. They need sticks, and they got to hide their faces. You know, these guys, I've been an MMA guy for a long time. I encourage them to go into their local, like, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu school. These guys would be crying like a bunch of sissies on the mat. Listen, I'll tell you what Brian won't, okay? These are a bunch of animal savages. This has nothing to do with anything other than them trying to take out their anger because they lost an election. And they're a bunch of sissies. They have no other way to do it than to beat people with sticks. And I don't know what Brian was talking about with free speech, but the bottom line is free speech is free even when you don't like it. The Bill of Rights does not protect you against being offended, and I'm not sure if Antifa understands that, but maybe they should go back and take a look at the Constitution and reread it.
Yeah, let's respond to that question, because I've seen a lot of instances where you've had Antifa members stab a horse with a knife, stab other people with knives. They torched a Muslim immigrant's limousine during Trump's inauguration. They're perpetrating violence across many cities across the United States. Are they becoming way over the line where the law enforcement really needs to look at them not as just a bunch of street thugs, but in terms of more of a domestic terrorist group?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Look, it depends on where, okay? And first of all, with regard to Don, I don't think we need that kind of language. I mean, look at what the hell's going on in this country. I think what we have to do is say two things. Irrespective of what your political views are, violence is wrong. And let's also point out that far-right wing are responsible for 2 murders at these outfits. And people like Kyle Chapman, who talks about starting a group called the Fraternal Order of the Alt-Knights and engage in a fight club thing. We don't need any more of this crap. And as a former cop, he should know better. One of the things that we have...
Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Let's give Dan the last word.
Excuse me, let me finish, please.
Brian, because we got to go to a commercial break.
Let me finish my point.
Brian,
let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
Brian, we got to go to break. 20 seconds.
Okay, Dan,
finish the
I'm a
point.
Stanford law grad who you're calling a clown.
Yeah, good luck.
You're part of the problem, Dan. What we need. Excuse me,
Dan, let him finish. 30 seconds. Go, Brian. Go.
This is the kind of vacuous punditry that shows he has no point. What I'm saying is, these are. Excuse me, let me finish, please. Excuse me. Thank you. That's why you're booted out of the Secret Service.
All right, guys, let's not make it personal, okay?
With respect to Antifa, they represent a violent liar. Excuse me.
Oh, you know what?
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Brian, you're done. Dan, last word.
Yeah, one, I wasn't booted out of the Secret Service. I resigned because I wanted to run for office. Brian's a clown. He should return his law degree. He has no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't understand the Bill of Rights. Antifa's a violent group that's attacked people. They don't understand. They don't have the right to not be offended. That's the bottom line. Trying to blame this on savage neo-Nazis who are a horrible entity in and of themselves, that's not what the segment was about. It was about Antifa, and he tried to cleverly make it about something different, which everybody rightly, roundly condemns. He should be embarrassed. Whatever law degree he has, return it back. It's tissue paper. It's worthless.
All right. Thanks very much. Really appreciate you coming on. And sorry to the audience, I got a little crazy right there. Some students are saying the University of Southern California's mascot, a horse, is racist. Here from Southern California, Scott Baio with reaction. And a Black Lives Matter person has 10 requests for white people. Wait until you see what they are. That's next.